Reza Aslan for Aslan Media. It's Friday, May 28th. Yesterday, President Obama announced his national security strategy. This is a 50-page document that comes out. Every administration has to have one that defines what the security challenges of the United States are and how the current administration is going to deal with it. You all remember President Bush's famous 2002 security strategy. That was where the Great Bush Doctrine was first formed, that amongst other things talked about preemptive military attacks and terrorism, etc. This document is somewhat unusual. Not only does it talk about certain threats that the Bush administration never even brought up, such as reliance on foreign oil and climate change, etc., but it makes one really fascinating break from the Bush administration. It states, in no uncertain terms, that terrorism is no longer America's #1 national security threat. As a matter of fact, John Brennan, the man who sort of announced the review, said something unusual. He said, quote, "Our enemy is not terrorism because terrorism is a tactic." He said that our enemy is not terror because terror is a state of mind. As Americans, we refuse to live in fear. The document also rejected the use of such terms as jihad, Islamists, etc. because, as he himself said, quote, "There is nothing holy or legitimate or Islamic about murdering innocent men, women, and children." Instead, the document said that our enemy is Al-Qaeda and its terrorist affiliates. This, I think, presents a sea change in the way the previous administration not just thought about national security, but thought about terrorism in general. You all know that there is currently a big debate going on in the United States with the Obama administration on one side and Dick Cheney and Sarah Palin on the other about how to think about terrorism. Is terrorism a criminal act or is it an act of war? The Cheney people obviously think of it as an act of war, and they are appalled at the notion that President Obama dares to think about terrorists as criminals to be brought to justice. But here's a little news flash for Dick Cheney and Sarah Palin. When you declare war on a terrorist, guess what? He is no longer a terrorist. Nothing that he does can be considered terrorism any longer. He is now a soldier in a war that you yourself declared. So I, for one, am much more comfortable and much safer under President Obama's conception of national security than I am under Dick Cheney and George Bush. For Aslan Media, this is Reza Aslan.